Alright, the day has come. It's been requested by a couple people, one of which including one of my buddies, Parker. What's up, Parker? But anyways, it's been requested to do a video on doing stairs. So I'm actually going to do two videos. I'm going to do one that's a little more beginner / DIY friendly, because I'm sure there's actually a lot of people that are wanting to add a small staircase to their garage, perhaps. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be doing it to a new house, but it'll be the exact same as doing it to your own house, an old house that already exists. There might be a few differences, but I'll try to talk about what those might be so you'll be prepared. But with all that being said, let's get started. So this is where our stairs actually go. You can pull it up on the blueprints too. We got this door right in front of me, right there. So we're gonna have a landing coming across here. Joists going just like that. And then our actual stairs will go like that. And I've only mostly ruined the blueprints. Let's see if I can erase all that. Beautiful. But all that to be said, that's our game plan. All right, there's our landing all finished up. Ready to slap some stairs on it. Gonna get us nice and clean. All right, so now that the landing is done, we're ready to start getting our measurements for our stairs. So here's what I know. What I do know is from this wall to the edge of the stairs is going to be 3'6". There's a little concrete nub here at the bottom, so I'm gonna have to bypass that. So I'm gonna come over here and mark 3'6", just like that. And now you can see what my dimension, we could call that 39 1/4. So 39 1/4 is my stair dimension. So that's my dimension. The next dimension we need, other than width, is the height and the length of the stairs. So right now, I'm looking at about 29 1/4 inches. So the maximum height of a step you can have is 7 3/4. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna open my calculator. What we do usually in the profession is we'll take 29 1/4, my dimension, divide it by 7, and that gets us 4 3/16. So I look at that and I say just a little bit more than 4. So now we're gonna take 29 1/4, divide it by 4, that gets us 7 5/16. That's still pretty low, because that's just over 7 1/4. So we still have a 1/2 inch bigger we could go. Let's see if we could get to 3 steps, or if we have to stick with 4 steps. Yeah, if I were to divide by 3, our steps would be 9 3/4, aka way too big. So we're gonna stick with 29 1/4. We're gonna stick with 4 steps. So now what we gotta do, this is concrete, and anyone who has seen a garage, you drop anything around, it's gonna roll down. They slope it, so that way any liquids or waters or anything, snow melting off your car, it all drips and rolls out. The garage door is that way, which means the slope is this way. which means our stairs are gonna be sitting on a slope, which is not very good. So we're gonna have to account for that in how we build them. But now that we know that our steps are gonna we're gonna have 4 steps, this counts as a step, so we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4. So each step is gonna be 10 inches long. This counts as a step. So I only need to do 3 steps. So I'm gonna come over 30 inches. And I know that this point is roughly where the lowest point of the stairs is gonna be. And that's what you wanna check, the lowest point. So now I have my lowest point figured out on the floors right there. So now that I have my point there, I got my laser level. You could also do this with a regular level and have someone else hold a tape measure, or if you're just very crafty, I've done it both ways by myself. This one is substantially easier. So I get my laser, point it where I want to be. I'm a little too far that way. Where am I at now? That I'll call good enough. So my laser adds exactly 3 inches. So I just need to measure down 3 inches. It gives me 32 exactly. So I'm gonna go to 29, which means that my 29 1/4 is actually gonna be just 29. So with that in place, we can now start actually figuring out our stair stringers. Okay, so here's what we know. Let's give ourselves a little drawing. Here's our landing, right there. So we're gonna divide this height into 4 steps, roughly. 1, 2, 3, 4, just like that. That's how it looks right now. There's our landing, floating up, just like that. That's that spot right there. It looks just like it. So, 4 steps, and they go at these heights. 1, 2, 3, and 4, right there. So you can effectively take those heights and just drag them over, just like that. All the way from the bottom. And that's how we get 4 steps with only 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is up onto the landing itself. Now the hard part is we're gonna be using a piece of wood that runs like this. So imagine we're cutting it out of a piece of wood that looks like that. So we're gonna be cutting out these triangles to get those steps. And then when we angle the board, these will then be flat and then the board itself will be angled. So here's what we know. This whole height is 29 inches. There's 3 steps, so each of these is 10 inches. So if we were to take this height, divide it by 4, let's see what that gives us. I feel like it's an easy number, but maybe I'm wrong. 7.25, so 7 1/4. Very easy number. This is kind of perfect because 7 1/4 is the exact width of a 2x8. That doesn't really matter, but it's just kind of cool. So we know that it's gonna come over 10 inches and it's gonna come up 7 1/4. And that's gonna be the case on every single step. So now that we know all that, what we need to do next is actually start marking it. So this is what I call a framing square. Some people call it a layout square, rafter square. There's a lot of different names for it. The one I give it is framing square. So framing square, and then I'm gonna use these guys. You can also use ones that are a little cheaper, more readily available. You can get these from Home Depot or Lowe's or anything. They're like $2. So I'm gonna set this square. We want this side on 10 because that's our run. We want this side on 7 1/4, just like that. Take my little stair gauge, that's what we call it. Same thing on this side. Just like that. This is our length sideways, this is our length up. Our length sideways is going to be the last part at the top of our stringer. So we'll start right there. Come on over just like that. Mark the end of that. Mark your 10. I always recommend marking that because it helps you get it lined up for your next side. It's more accurate to mark that than it is to just line it up again. You'll notice the square, if you put it on the back side, still marks the same. So you can put it over here. Give us one of those bad boys. Now, here is where it gets a little more tricky. So this is our height, 7 1/4 right here. And this is gonna sit flat on the concrete. But then we're gonna put plywood on it. And when we put plywood on this, it would then make it, it's 3/4 plywood. So if we put 3/4 plywood on top of this, that's not gonna be 7 1/4 anymore. It's gonna be closer to 8 inches. What we do, take 3/4 right off the bottom. And now, from our new mark, not that mark, from here to the top of our plywood, we would have 7 1/4. You might be thinking, well, if you take it off the bottom, that's gonna stack all the way up to the top. The truth is, yes, but that's exactly what we want, because we just added 3/4 here, which means now this one's gonna be too tall. So now we need to add plywood here, but we want to, so it's perfect. We cut it off the bottom, we add it here, here, and here. The other thing that we'll do is we're gonna put plywood on what's called the riser, which is the part that goes vertical. Now, the plywood we're gonna use there is smaller. It's only a 1/2 inch thick, but we're still gonna use the same concept. So I'm gonna line this back up, got my 10-inch mark on the spot, come over here, I'll mark a 1/2 inch, slide our square over, mark that. Same thing. Even though we take it away here, we're gonna add it here, here, and here, and it'll all be the same. So the idea is, after we add plywood, we'll have our outside finish dimensions, and it will, exactly. So that is our stringer, essentially. So now what we can do is, I'll slide it over so I'm not cutting through my sawhorse, and then I'll start cutting. Probably even with the dull chisel, you should be able to get a nice clean corner out of that. All right, first stringer's cut. And actually just scribe that one, just like that. So I'm gonna clean these all up, get all my corners cut out, how I kind of showed you guys, and then we'll start putting them together with plywood. Just like that. All of our stringers are cut. So all we need to do next is cut all of our plywood pieces. What I have laid out on here is our 7 1/4 rise and a 39 1/4 length. I have 1, 2 of those laid out right now. I'm gonna lay out one more on the top, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do for the back riser. And there is our last riser. And the reason we make it long, well, how about this? I'll make it a surprise. I'll show you when we get there. Stringer, riser, tread, and one extra big riser. Now, for actually fastening all this. Just gonna set these up. They don't need to be perfect right now. We'll set our risers up. So, in order to make the best stairs, won't squeak, stay together for as long as you need them, glue those bad boys. Don't need to go crazy. Here's what we can do for the treads. Two things. We'll glue there. We'll glue back there. Hopefully I didn't lose too much of that. But I guess we'll see. So, we got our 7/8 mark, and we snapped it and we cut it all the way down. We just cut that. So now, glue this guy up. Since it's 1,000,000 degrees out, the glue is nice and liquidy. I think we might have just enough glue to finish this project. So this goes on here, pushes in. You can see puts us right on the edge of our board. That all the way to the other end. Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now for the grand finale. The last big riser. Here's how this piece is going to work. It's going to nail to the back side of these stringers and it's going to hang up. And then we'll nail the part that hangs up into this. There it is. And then, all right, GoPros, hang in there with me just a few minutes. Fully. Since it's holding the full weight of the stairs, I'm gonna go 4 nails. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. So, these stairs are now built. The next question is installing them. Let's see if this guy can handle the heat just a little bit longer. these around. You can set your plywood nice and flush on the floor, just like that. Give myself a couple nails in the corner. Right there, looking good. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. That's how we're looking. See how they feel. Very solid. Pretty dang good. Pretty good. And the bottom, pretty good as well. So that is how we build the stairs. Very simple set. Works for new construction, works for the house you live in right now, because believe it or not, they're probably built the same way. But with all that being said, the only thing that's left then is to pick up all the junk you left. So, but again, I hope that was beneficial. Hope you guys learned something. Feel free to drop any tips for me. I'm young, I'm learning. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one.